Okay, let's try a couple more, and then I'm going to have you guys practice on your own using small, simple conversion charts like this. Okay, so let's look at here. We have 45 inches to yards. So these are going to be multi-steps. So the last slide was showing you some single steps. Here we're going to do some multi-steps. All right, so our given here is 45 inches. And we're going to end up in the known in yards. Okay, so we're going to need inches. So I'm going to find equality that has inches. And none of our equalities up here in the length section has any inches straight into yards. If you look, there are no inches straight into yards. So I'm going to have to use a couple here. We're going to use this one and this one because this one has inches up at the top, and then you see the yard unit shows up at the second one. All right, so to start off with, we see that inches is going to be our starting unit. So that means that our first fraction is going to have the inches unit in it. And because the inches is on top, we are going to set it up so that inches is on the bottom. So using the first equality there, I see it's 12 inches for every 1 foot. All right, so what that does is that cancels out the inch and it leaves me in the foot. All right, so now when I move into the next one, 1 yard equals 3 feet, I can create my other fractional conversion unit where I'm going to have feet on the bottom, and then that'll put that yard there on the top. So when I cancel this, feet go away, and my lone standing unit at the end is the yard. Now that matches what it wanted me in the problem to end up in. So that means I set everything up correctly. So now I can simplify with my numbers here, and I have 45 times 1 over 12 times 3. So that's going to give me 45 over 12 times 3 is 36. So we've got 45 divided by 36. Oops. And okay, so this is going to simplify into 5 over 4. You could leave it in the fractional form, or you can convert it into decimal form. It really, honestly, it doesn't matter to me. Whatever you want to do, both would be counted correct. Most of the time in chemistry, I can tell you, is we usually go ahead and convert it to the decimal form only because in science, we usually just use the decimal form more often, okay? So you could use it in either or, but it's just easier to plot because remember, a lot of times in science, we're graphing the data. So when we convert these units here, we're going to end up graphing them. It's a much easier to graph 1.25 than it is 5/4. A lot of people just don't think in fractional form. I'm not one of them. You might be, but I'm not one of them. So I like to put it in the decimal form just because it's easier to graph. All right. Let's look at the next one here. All right, so we've got 96 quarts into fluid ounces. All right. Oh, and kind of a disclaimer. So we've got, I want to put this up right. So this is what we had the last time. And before I move on, because I know in these problems that you're getting ready to do, I said to make sure to use the right number of sig figs. So the way I would report this answer, if you look here, I only gave you 2 sig figs in the problem. So you're only allowed to report 2 sig figs. So you're going to only keep 2 numbers. So you're going to keep these 2 here. The number next to the 2 will tell you whether to round up or leave it. So because it's a 5, you would report 1.3 yards. Okay? All right, so let's move on to this next one here. All right, so we have 96 quarts to fluid ounces. So we're going to look at capacity. So we're going to quarts, which is down here, and we want to be in fluid ounces, which is right here. Now, one thing I'm looking at is in the first equality, I have a quart equals 2 pints. Okay, so that puts me in pints. That's good. When I look up here, I have 8 fluid ounces, and it only shows me it in cups. So I will have to use another fraction, another equality to get me there because I can't go straight from pints to cups. So I'm going to have to use somewhere where a cup and a pint are equal. And here you see it here. So we're going to be using those 3. All right, so we have 96 quarts. All right, so because quarts is the given unit, my first fractional bar will be set up so that quarts is on the bottom. So I'm going to find the one that has quarts. There it is right here. This will be the first one I use. So I'm going to put the 1 quart on the bottom and then 2 pints on the top. Okay, so what this does is it cancels out the quarts and it leaves me in the pints. All right, so from here, I need to get to pint to fluid ounces. I don't have a direct way to do that, but I do see here I have a pint to a cup. So we're going to use that one. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up. So because pint is on the top, it's going to have to go on the bottom. So that's the 1 pint and the 2 cups here. All right, so now what happens is the way this is set up, the pints will cancel out and I'll be left in a cup. Now that's my lone standing unit. If I were to stop here, I could see that the cup does not match the fluid ounces that I need to be in. So we've got to keep going. So I'm going to go ahead and set up another fraction, and I'm going to see here where I can go from cup into fluid ounces. So my cup will go on the bottom, and my fluid ounces will go here. So now cup cancels, and I'm left with the lone unit fluid ounces, which matches what it asked me to be in. So now I can just simplify the numbers because fluid ounces is where I'm supposed to be. So when we do this, I can simplify straight across. So 96 times 2 times 2 times 8 over 1 times 1 times 1. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this in the calculator. You can do it in your head too. I'm going to just put it in, enter. So I have 3,072 fluid ounces equals 96 quarts. Now what we have to do is we have to make sure our significant digits match. So here I'm only given 2 sig figs, so I can only report 2 sig figs. Right now I'm reporting 4. So we're going to do this. So I'm going to keep this number and this number, and I'm going to look to the number next to it to see if I round up or I leave it the 0. So because it's a 7, I'm going to round up. So what happens, make some room here. What happens is my number now becomes 3,100 fluid ounces because we rounded, what we did is we rounded this number up to the correct number of sig figs. So we knew we were keeping the 3 and this number next to it. We just had to determine if it was going to stay 3,000 or go to 3,100. And because it's a 7, it's going to go to 3,100. So go ahead and do some of those practice problems and we'll come back together.